Welcome back to the Restaurant Technology Guys podcast. I thank everyone out there for joining us. I know that you guys got lots of choices, so we appreciate you guys spending time. Today is going to be a fun and interesting conversation. I got introduced to Todd through, again, a mutual friend, and this is another Tammy Billings referral. But Todd, why don't you introduce yourself real quick, and then we can talk a little bit about what you get to do at GoZone?
Sure. So my name's Todd Myers. I'm the CEO of GoZone WiFi. We're a software company based in St. Petersburg, Florida. We're 10 years old. We work with a ton of brick and mortar businesses, including food and beverage type businesses. And basically, what we do is help companies monetize their Wi Fi. We have a series of, or what I like to call Swiss Army knife of tools available for our customers to use to market themselves and basically generate revenue from their Wi-Fi, believe it or not.
Yeah, and I think that I'm excited about the conversation because I think there's some brands that do it quite well, and there's some brands that offer Wi-Fi and don't necessarily take advantage of it. And so, I guess from a background perspective, product's been around for 10 years, company's been around for 10 years. What did you do prior to GoZone that led you down this path, if you wouldn't mind, Todd? I hear from some of our listeners, they're like, it's always fun to hear the backstories of these entrepreneurs that have gone and found something or created something, and kind of how did they get to there?
So this is my ninth company, all in the Wi-Fi or tech space. So I actually go back into the Wi-Fi space about 25 years before it was called Wi-Fi. It's so much that I have the tattoo on my arm. So I was one of the original pioneers of the Wi-Fi technology itself. So I owned an internet service provider in the late 90s in Ohio and had a huge customer base. And I worked with a company called Aeronet to build out a citywide wireless network that I could use for my business customers back in the late 90s. And Aeronet ultimately was acquired by Cisco. So congratulations to Aeronet. And I also put passenger Wi-Fi into airports for the first time in the world. So I was the first one ever to pioneer that. And in the airports, we needed a way to manage the captive portal, or back in the early days, of course, when you used Wi-Fi hotspot locations, you paid for the service, right? That was the currency of the time. Fast forward to GoZone days, 15 plus years from that time, and the new currency is data. So that's
Mhm.
what we now supply our customers as the currency is data.
I love it. So, Todd, again, with your background, I'd love to have you walk through even the evolution. You talked through it a little bit there of the evolution. People are offering Wi-Fi to their guests as a value add, and again, I think that's something that many brick and mortar retailers do. I'm always surprised. I was somewhere where I had bad cell signal, and I tried to jump on Wi-Fi, and I'm like, where am I in some third world country? I can't get on Wi-Fi to
Yeah.
get to the internet to get to whatever I was looking for. But
Yeah.
walk me through the evolution, because it was at one point it was paid, and then it turned into kind of this hybrid where you were paid but you had some ads, and now you're into this data realm. So if you could educate our listeners, because many of them have been through it but they didn't necessarily know that they were the product at the time when they were going through that.
Sure. So actually, the company originally got started in Mexico. It's when I was living in Mexico. I was living in Puerto Vallarta for a while, just on sabbatical. And I went just like everybody does. So we go from restaurant to restaurant to bar. I wanted to try a lot of different ones. My problem, though, was that being from the States, I didn't have easy cell coverage. So I needed pretty much Wi Fi everywhere, right? Which is similar to travelers to the US, that there's an area like Miami that gets a lot of international travelers. They're always looking for Wi Fi. I was in the same predicament in Mexico. And what I found is just about every location that I went to had Wi Fi. But with that said, I had to ask the waiter or wait staff, what's the password? What's the password? I actually bought a shirt that said, what's your Wi Fi password? And I had it in English on the front, Spanish in the back. So I could, and even though they had Wi Fi, they usually had this long, cryptic 15 character password that I would have to log in. I'm like, this is just not ubiquitous, because ever since the industry got started, one of the things that I've been trying to do is get it ubiquitous, get it easy to use, get it beneficial for all customers and without being an annoyance. So that's when I'm like, I've got to do this all over again. My big conundrum was, how am I going to pay for it? How am I going to make sure it's sustainable? So we started selling advertising. We started to give the service away to bars and restaurants in Puerto Vallarta. The company
Hmm.
originally was called Free Mexico Wi-Fi, believe it or
Oh,
not.
wow.
before we
Okay.
were GoZone. And yeah, so we started to give it away to the bars and restaurants down there, basically a hotspot uh, that guests could use without a password. So the waiters and wait staff loved it because they didn't have to give the password out anymore. The owners liked it because they didn't have to purchase the equipment. They also didn't have to change anything with their existing Wi-Fi network that could affect their point of sale or their revenue generating operational infrastructure or their ticket printers, things like that. So in where we sold advertising, this has got to be scalable. So we started to do the same thing in Miami, Key West, Hollywood, Florida, Fort Lauderdale, the touristy areas, and expand the business. We quickly became free global Wi-Fi instead of free Mexico Wi-Fi. And then our restaurant customers started to ask us for the data that we received, right? Because we always generally asked for an email address for people to log in. That way we could remarket to them later. And I essentially assembled my team that created the portals back in the day that collected payments at airports and said, we need to do this again, but this time, guys, we're collecting data and we're going to give that to our customer base and let them use it to increase their revenue. So that's the history of GoZone. And the word GoZone means it's easy for people to go in a zone and use a hotspot. Very easy. No annoying passwords and cryptic ways to get in or wasting time of the wait staff. So yeah, that's how we got started.
Thank you for that history lesson. And again, I think it's ironic because I think all of us that have had a connected device over the last 20 years have been through this evolution where you're traveling somewhere and you need this. It was always that what's available. What's available. I've traveled internationally as well, and it's what's available, what's even safe. And I guess
Yeah.
talk me through that a little bit, Todd, because I think that's one of the other things that oftentimes restaurants and retailers don't understand is that there are other people that are either trying to spoof your customers and put up a Wi-Fi hotspot that might have the name of your brand or something freecoffeeshop.com, free coffee shop Wi-Fi, and you jump on that and now they're taking your data and aren't necessarily using it for the most savory things, and they can tie it back to you. So can you talk to me about the security aspect and why it's imperative for restaurants to at least consider this as an option? Because if you don't, oftentimes you get stuck in these other predicaments.
I think there's less risk these days of the actual guest data being hacked into or sniffed or whatever, because it's really short range, right? Generally, people are within 300 feet of the access point. So, if there's a bad actor, they're going to be right there. They're probably a member of the FSB or the CIA that they're going to get the data anyway, right? That's usually not the concern these days because also every app that you put on your phone, every web page you go to is now SSL encrypted, right? So it's got a security layer to encrypt all the data between your phone or device and the end website anyway. I think the bigger security question is for those that pass out passwords. More times than not, a restaurant or some property will give me a password just like they give it to everybody else. And because I'm a geek, I will sniff the network, right? I'll see kitchen printers, I'll see the Roku TVs that are connected, I'll see kitchen sensors that they have, I'll see the point of sale station, I'll see all of that stuff. That's a bigger security risk. So the risk is less to the guest, it's much more to the restaurant, and they really need to pay attention to that security risk because it's absolutely real.
Anybody that's ever run a restaurant knows the craziness that happens during a meal period in a rush. One of our partners, Restaurant Technologies Total Oil Management Solution, is an end-to-end oil management system that delivers, filters, monitors, and recycles your cooking oil, taking one of the jobs that none of your team wants to do and takes it off your hands, allowing your team members to focus on their guest. Control the kitchen chaos with Restaurant Technologies and make your kitchen safer while maximizing your staff's time. The solution can be provided at no upfront cost. If you want to learn more, please check out rti-inc.com or call 888-796-4997. Yeah. No, and again, I see that often too. Or you see the two SSIDs. You've got the staff SSID and the guest SSID, and you're for those that are watching on video, they see the shaking of the head because ultimately, if you know what you're doing, those two SSIDs are ultimately on the same network. So talk our listeners through a little bit of, because you're like, because again, even before we hit record, you're like, no, every time I talk to a restaurant, they're like, I got Wi-Fi, I got it all figured out, and so we'll go down that train of thought. But even that, oh, well, we're going to publish two SSIDs, one for our internal secure network and one for our external network, and talk me through the fallacy and even what that thought process is if you're not really wise and understand how that all works.
The way I explain it is unless you have two connections to the internet that are completely separated and isolated, either through physical cabling or through what we call our VLAN, or virtual local area network, right, where there is a separate secure pipe on the same transport mechanism like a wire, then it's not secure. A restaurant that hands me a Wi-Fi password might as well hand me a key to the store,
Mm-hmm.
because I
Yep.
have access to them to all of their connected devices. Percent of the time, properties, independent of restaurants or not, people leave passwords the same. So I'll give you an example. When I first demonstrated this security aspect to a large burger chain, I went in, they gave me the password just like they give everybody their passwords. I sniffed a packet. I found an Epson printer. Turns out that was their kitchen printer. I quickly Googled default Epson password. So boom, now I'm in the menu of their kitchen printer. I can shut it off. I can just do things to be nasty if I really wanted to. I wouldn't. Other people could. You can change menu boards. These days, all menu boards, or most of them, are connected to the same Wi-Fi network. I'm sure nobody would want their menus changed, especially pricing. So there's a lot of security elements. Everything inside of a restaurant is connected these days, to jukebox, to everything. It's important to make sure there's two separate pathways, one for the guests and one for the operational equipment. Again, whether that's through a VLAN or through physical differences. And it's also a PCI requirement for credit card processing as well.
Yeah, and I think, and I know a couple of restaurant brands recently have gotten hit with malware and ransomware as well. So I mean, that gets even farther, where take down your entire chain, or it
Right.
goes up network, because if it's not secured properly, now I'm on the local area network, and if you're not configured properly, you can even get into the headquarters, which is again a big challenge. I'm going to flip it around, Todd, and let's talk a little bit about what the benefits are. So we've got the security aspect, that's the risk, and I think people, oh, my cousin went to school to be a technician, he's just going to do this, and you run into that. We talked about the security and the risk of that.
Mhm.
Flip it around. What is the benefit to having a managed Wi-Fi network that you can manage for your guests and your staff members? Talk me through the GoZone value proposition and why it's so critical that people need to be thinking about data, because I do think that is the new currency that way too few people have really realized that is where things are going. So talk me through what the value prop is for GoZone to retailers and restaurants that are looking to get managed Wi-Fi with some of the tools that you guys have.
Aside from the obvious things of not having to waste the time of the wait staff of handing out passwords all the time, there's opportunities to communicate to the customer, right? A lot of times that's your first impression, right? That people might be waiting in line for 30 minutes and they need internet access. So what do? They pop on the Wi-Fi. That's your first opportunity to talk to your customers. And so let them know about your specials. Let them know about upcoming events, or, hey, you're going to get a survey. Introduce them to the manager, right? So there's all kinds of ways to talk to people through this avenue. Everybody's been on Wi-Fi before, and I'm sure everybody has seen the pop-up screen, or we call them captive portals. Welcome to whatever the property is. Use that as an opportunity. That's the number one value prop, is that your engagement tool, right? Or
Mm-hmm.
a piece of the engagement tool. Another thing that we can do, and one of the value props, is collect data, right? We can ask questions on that page. We can have a series of pages to ask multiple questions, but not be too annoying. So we can have a page that's the welcome, this is our location, and page 2 is, hey, don't forget about Taco Tuesday, whatever it is. And page 3 is a couple questions, and then people are logged in. So the value prop really comes in the data collection piece of it, right? Who are your customers? That's the number
Yep.
one thing that all of our customers really need and want, is that they have no idea who most of their customers are. Yeah, aside from, I know the faces, I know this is a regular versus that was probably a tourist or a local, but that is the key takeaway, is that we collect the data. So the restaurants or food and beverage company can then remarket to them and get them back in. Because if they are a first time customer, you really want to get their feedback. First of all, find out who they are, then get their feedback, let them know about promotions, get them back in, right? And that's going to drive, a loyalty. And that's really what the system's all about. It's a piece of a full omni-channel marketing approach. We get some customers that talk to us and say, we already get the email address, because they have Toast or some other point of sale system, right, that asks for the email address. But personally, I've never typed my email address in on a receipt. I'm usually in a hurry. It's like, I don't want to deal with it, right? But some people do. So that's one way to collect information on customers. Another way is through online ordering, right? Well, most of the apps will give you that information. Wi-Fi is another way to talk to people that are in your restaurant, and maybe they didn't pay the bill. Maybe they didn't place the order. It's a family, you have 4 kids, right? You or your wife, that's 6 of you. Only one of you is going to pay the bill, unless daddy wants the kids to pay, but unless it's
Yeah,
father.
but at the end of the day, I think about it, there's oftentimes, because my kids have connected to Wi-Fi, they
Mhm.
put in their email address,
Sure.
they get marketed, and my wife and kids decide where I eat. And
Yeah,
so if my daughter comes in and says, "Dad, I really want to go to XYZ brand," because she checked her email and got messaged to by that brand, at the end of the day, they're going to get that frequent visitor versus maybe I wouldn't have made that choice because they weren't top of mind.
sure, absolutely. You just have to be careful of the messaging. We have one restaurant chain that uses our system to collect the phone numbers of people, and they do a stellar job of sending out SMS messages. So our system not only collects the information from people, but it stores it in a CRM as well. We have
Okay.
our own built-in CRM to basically do e-blasts or SMS blasts out to customers or groups of customers. Maybe it's people that came to the Taco Tuesday. We've tagged that particular name as Tuesday. So next week we can send them an SMS. Hey, tonight is Taco Tuesday. Don't forget, 7 o'clock, bring your sombrero or whatever. So it really works to drive immediate responses from past guests to drive revenue. That's what it's all about, is driving revenue.
Yeah. So I've got a couple other lines of questioning. I've known other companies that do similar stuff to what you guys do. That obviously there's I guess, those people that have opted in. They've jumped on the Wi Fi, they've put in their email address, they knew who they are.
Mhm.
And then, but anytime I'm at that property, if I've connected at one point, if you've got the right tech, that they're there, whether they open up their browser or not.
Mhm.
Talk me through even the capabilities of tech like what you guys have, because now that I'm back there, if I have connected 3 years ago or a year ago, and my phone hasn't changed, you often know when they're there, how long their stay is, all of those kind of things. What other pieces of data outside of the opt in? I've opted in, I'm jumping on Wi Fi. Do you guys know about that guest during that stay?
We do. We're able to communicate with people about that particular stay. So we can understand dwell times. We know how long you've been there because you're connected, and now all of a sudden you disconnect. After a period of time, we actually monitor that, and it's available in Insight tool that we have, which is an analytics tool. We know return visits, right? So we know your percentage of return customers versus new customers. We have the ability, because we do record the MAC address of your device, of your phone. As long as that MAC address doesn't change, we know who you are then. So next time you come in, you can have a personalized message. Hey, welcome back, Jeremy. So
Hmm.
we can put merge codes in to that captive portal as well, which is really a way to put your customer first and really make them feel welcome back. There's all kinds of different tools that are available. And additional analytics, we have one customer as an example, a large restaurant membership house that, as you drive into the parking lot, without even connecting to the Wi-Fi network, our system knows that you've come into the parking lot, and an email will immediately go to you and says, welcome back, Jeremy, before you're even out of your car. And you're getting a coupon usually. So we have a coupon system built in, a voucher system built in. So with that information, we can check ROI. So if we send a campaign, as an example, to you because you came to our restaurant, yesterday for Taco Tuesday. We can see that you came back next Tuesday because you used a coupon. So
Mhm.
now we're able to attribute that coupon to your spend, get an ROI. Now we have additional data, on you.
Yeah, and I think your example, and I think all too often you talk about people that have true loyalty programs. They know who those people are when they do check in and such, but so few transactions, 20% of transactions are loyalty. If
Yeah.
you get really high, I think Starbucks it might be 70%, but like most brands, it's sub 20% are loyalty. So how do you figure out who the rest of those guests are without asking, without interacting? And the
Yeah.
way to do that is through a multi-tiered approach. There's point of purchase at the table, there's the
Mhm.
tablet that you're paying on, there's Wi-Fi. There's lots of different ways you need to know, because to that point, Todd, now I can take that data and use it to enhance the guest experience, to get back into their inbox, to get to be top of mind if and when you need that. Talk me through what you guys think about from that perspective.
And the beautiful thing about the Wi-Fi network is it's set it up once and forget about it, right? You don't have to constantly babysit it. It's not like a traditional marketing system where, all right, I've got to build a campaign once a week and kind of e-blast that out. You can do that in our system, but we have what's called triggered campaigns that are smart campaigns. And those campaigns are based on the time that you logged in. So in other words, if you logged in and came into my restaurant at 5 o'clock today, I could set up a triggered campaign 2 hours after you log in, send an email to Jeremy. Hey, Jeremy, how was your visit? So it's a follow up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 star, right? It's if you hit 1, 2, or 3 star on on the email, it's going to open up an email to you, the owner, so you can intercept that bad review, right? If you
Yep.
hit 4 or 5, it's going to forward straight over to your Google reviews page and now increase your reviews. But it's set it up once and forget about it, because once these campaigns are set up, they just run unless you
Hmm.
want to change them. So it's constantly collecting data for you. It's constantly communicating whatever message you want to send to that customer and gathering whatever other additional information you want from that customer, and hopefully driving revenue through coupons that you've set up. So kind of a no-brainer.
Yeah.
So,
Before we get off, I want to talk through kind of, Todd, how a restaurant would engage with you. But before I go there, there's been a lot of talk about kind of the rules that Google and others have been putting out. The privacy has been a bigger deal, especially in the States. I know Europe, it's been a big deal. How has that impacted your guys' business much? The cookie conversation, the Apple app tracking, and all of that kind of stuff? Or has it been because people are opting in and it's typically just web browsing and or working on emails and those kind of things, it hasn't impacted you guys too much?
no, it really hasn't impacted us. People want access, so they're going to essentially put in information. I know other systems don't do email validation, but ours does email validation as well. So even if you put in kind of a phony email address, we're going to
Hmm.
hit it right off the bat and say no. That way, venue isn't getting a whole bunch of bad information. But the privacy rules really haven't affected us much. It's opt in, depending on the locality of the particular venue that it's put in. There may be a specified opt in, there may be a specified opt out. All of the email campaigns have unsubscribes. If there's SMS, there's laws that cover. You have to have the stop. There's rules to follow, right? There's branding set up required for that as well. So there's a lot of protection, but in most cases, people don't not give the information that's asked of them. Yeah, if it's too annoying, it could be.
Yeah. But that's less a legal thing and more just a design in the way that it was set up. And so
Yeah,
I was curious just because I've heard more and more of different marketing companies are trying to figure out how to get to the guest. They've been doing cookie tracking for so long. They've been doing app tracking for so long.
yeah.
And this just seems like I won't say no brainer, but it seems like a very simple way to capture more about what's going on within your brand that you don't know today.
Yeah, we just ask them,
Yeah.
what's your
Yeah,
email
exactly. And
address?
they give
How
it to
old
you.
are you? Yeah, if you give us the information, then you're going to be able to get online. Yeah, so
Yeah.
yeah,
So
and we even can ungate it and say I wish not to. It's completely customizable. That's what advanced captive portals are all about, is customizing it to a particular legality. We have a lot of bars that use the platform, and we certainly would not want to serve a alcohol advertisement as an example to a minor, right? So there's an age gate for are you 21 or over, just like there'd be an age gate on a website as well. So there's a lot of available tools in the system.
I love that. Talk me through what engagement looks like. Where does GoZone fit? Is it just a single bar and grill on the corner of Main Street and Main Street that was it chains? Talk me through what engagement looks like. And if I were a customer and I'm listening to this going, why don't I have GoZone? What I'm doing doesn't work. I need to figure out how to get a hold of this Todd guy and move forward. Talk me through a little bit of what can the end user expect if they were to move forward with you guys?
The cool thing with us is that we don't require any special hardware. We don't supply hardware at all. We don't do any of the integration. We're not IT people, right? We're the software company. We work very closely with all the hardware companies, though. So the beautiful thing about that is if you have Ubiquity installed at the restaurant, if you have Ingenious, TP-Link, Netgear, Cisco Meraki, Aruba, it doesn't matter the brand. We integrate with about 35 different pieces of hardware. The beautiful thing about that is that you can keep the infrastructure that you've already got. You can have five locations that have Cisco Meraki. You can have five locations with Ingenious, mix and match. The end user experience is going to be the same, and the pane of glass to receive the information is going to be the same to you. We're completely hardware agnostic. So that's one of the beautiful things about our system. If a mom and pop comes to us, we have a very inexpensive access point, a little hotspot in a box type thing where we'll actually ship that to customers and they literally just plug it in to their internet router. So very simple and secure, by the way. That's easy. Or if it's a chain, again, we integrate, we work with the IT teams to integrate the existing infrastructure, turn it on. Generally, yeah, it takes just a few minutes to activate our service. Once they have the captive portal kind of designed and the flow and the campaign set up, it's the tech process is 15, 20 minutes. It's pretty straightforward.
Love it. I'm going to ask you to, and I'm pivoting a little bit from our script, but I hope you don't mind. Talk me through one or two success stories or some unique ways that you've had some of your customers use the product to give some ideas. Just that was not just basic Wi-Fi captive portal. You talked about the sombrero with the Taco Tuesday. If you have any other fun stories, I'd love to have you share them with our audience because I think it's always cool when I hear these things that you're like, oh, this brand got super unique and they did this that they didn't expect, and what were the results from that? If you don't mind.
Yeah, there's some good case studies on our website as well. We have some fresh ones that just came out. One that kind of sticks in my mind is it's a chain here in Florida called Sun Pubs. I believe they have 12 or 15 locations. They're primarily in the tourist type areas. It's like a bar and grill. And they use our system for collecting guest information. They love the analytics piece of it. At the same time, they really use the platform to talk to their customers to drive immediate revenue. So, with that said, what they've done is collected phone numbers from people. And when they do a special, I believe they do the specials like if it's a Friday at 7 o'clock at night, they'll send 5,000 text messages out. By
Oh my
nine
goodness.
o'clock, the place is packed. So it's immediate impact. And there's exact percentages right on our website of what their increased success rates were, et cetera. It's just if you want immediate impact, there's some great ways to do it. And the beautiful thing is we're not just a software company, we're a managed marketing service provider. And that's a big challenge in the restaurant space. We know through COVID, of course, marketing people have left. And there's trim staff in that team, right? So we act as a supplement to organizations, and we'll just work with them and become part of the team to help market. And Sun Pubs does that with us as well. So we actually operate their campaigns for them and through our system. And they were also able to save money on other systems that they may have been using. Maybe they're using Constant Contact or MailChimp or Robly, one of the e-blast systems, plus they had another system that did SMS blasts. They're able to consolidate that into one system.
Hmm.
So it's just much easier to use. And three, instead of three different dashboards, they have one.
Yeah, no, that's great. Thank you for sharing that story. If people want to learn more, you said jump on the website. If you could read that out for them, and how do they get connected with somebody on your team to learn more about whether this is the right solution for them?
Sure. Just go to www.gozonewifi.com. That's GOZONE Wi-Fi.com. And there's actually getting started. We actually have a freemium model. So even if you want to use the system, as I first mentioned, to engage with the customers, and we're all about, security and helping our customers. So we have the starter plan. It can be used in as many with as many access points as you have, and it's completely free. There's no obligation.
Again, I think, as we've said, I've said it a couple times, if you're not doing it, your neighbor to your right and your neighbor to your left is doing it, and they're capturing those guests. And so oftentimes you're going to end up missing out on those extra guests that you might be able to have, or being able to figure out when potentially they stop coming. We continue, traffic is down in restaurants, and being able to make sure that you're in tune with your guests and communicating with them, especially when you get to multi units, is a huge piece of what it is that we need to do. And
Yeah,
unfortunately, I think there's a lot of tech that people don't know exists, like what you guys are doing at GoZone. So the fact that they now know, they have no excuse but to look it up and move forward with it.
yeah,
So
absolutely, absolutely.
thank you very much for sharing. Thanks for sharing, Todd, the backstory of where you came from and all that you're doing to help restaurants. While you guys are online checking out GoZoneWiFi.com, if you guys haven't already subscribed to the show, whether that's on YouTube or that's on your favorite podcast player, we also have once a month a newsletter that comes out with all of the shows. Todd, thank you so much for your time, and to our listeners, make it a great day.